Good morning, Sergey.
Hi, Farhad.
What time did you wake up today?
A little bit after 6:10.
Is it your regular?
Yeah, it's my everyday routine. Yeah,
Okay.
except I let myself wake up on Sundays, maybe a little bit later, but 6 days per week I wake in at 6:15. Yeah.
Okay. Glad you came here. By the way, I promised to mention to the hosts of this place that this is a Haman co-working space.
Mhm.
Very nice renovated building here. I want to ask you first, can you introduce what do you do today? Who are you?
Well, generally speaking, I'm a human being. First of all, 41 years old. I'm a dentist. I'm a doctor and entrepreneur. My day-to-day work is dentistry and running three of my practices, which are two of them are in London and one is in Riga, Latvia.
Oh, so you are a dentist and entrepreneur and with international business in two countries.
Yes, recently I also joined the investment community, so
Yeah.
I'm just broadened my interest into this field as well. Yeah, but up until that moment, I was and I still am dentist and entrepreneur.
And investments in what areas?
While
Let's
I'm
say.
looking for like startups, ideally in medical field where I
Uh-huh.
understand, or some medical devices, or some services like another dental clinic or another medical clinic, something like this. It's like a last project which I haven't invested anything yet, and just looking for the opportunities. Yeah.
Welcome to Inner Power Particles. I'm Farhad, the host of the podcast. We talk with entrepreneurs and leaders about how they have solved the challenges in their life or business and how it has transformed into new inner strength in them. And with this, we want to help that you also can look at your life or business situations and see how you can solve the challenges in them and through that transform them also into new inner strengths, inner power particles in you. Enjoy the show. So it's like a bench on three legs: dentistry, entrepreneurship, and now investments into startups. By the way, do you also dream of building a startup yourself one day, or this is not on your agenda?
Yeah, it is kind of on my agenda. I was talking with my mentor a lot about this, yeah, and at the moment I'm just exploring two ways because ideally I would like to find a startup which would disrupt the dental industry. I have some ideas in mind, but while I'm looking for a team with which to implement this idea, I'm also looking for other options, yeah.
Hmm. By the way, this on the first glance sounds like almost perfect formula, meaning you understand the industry from inside out, the dental care. You understand entrepreneurship, and then if you build something on the startup side, this could be a very good fundament.
Well, I used to have a startup. My clinics, they were startup 10 and 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's a like mature company, and I'm looking for some new challenges in life.
Can you share what brought you in this path of to be a dentist and entrepreneur?
Well, I think, yeah, well, the roots of this, well, when I was preparing to the interview, I was reflecting on my life, and I was thinking, oh, maybe it was in university, or maybe it was later. But then I dug deeper, and I realized that the way how I came into medicine was rooted in my childhood, because my uncle, he was a vet doctor, and I spent quite a lot of time with my granny and at his house, and there, like, one room was only full of books on anatomy of mostly animals, but anyway, biology and so on. So my kids' drawings were based on drawing these animal cells or plant cells. And by the time when we had a biology lesson in higher school, I already knew all this by heart. And then biology went very natural to me, and that somehow when I finished, it was approaching the end of my higher school. I already knew a lot of this. So for me, the only question was which part of medicine to go. So when I was applying to the university, I applied for like 3 degrees for doctor, dentist, and pharmacologist, pharmacist.
But did you know which one you want out of these three, or it was whatever happens?
No, I had pros and cons for each of them, and it was kind of like difficult decision which of them to take, because I wanted to be in medicine, and there is also I like to do something with my hands. So dentistry was the most closest of it. So pharmacy, it's more about thinking, analytical things. Medicine, it's more about like talking to people and so on. But dentistry, where you talk to people and you do something, so you see this final result, which extremely rewarding feeling. Yeah. And that's perhaps what a little bit lacking in the entrepreneurship sometimes, because in order to get from point A to point B, in order to get results in entrepreneurship, it sometimes you don't get results. You sometimes just work and work and work, and you don't get to any point. And this actually what holds me, what makes me like everything I do. So I do entrepreneurship and I do dentistry, and this combination of two grounds me a little bit, yeah, which I really need for having like happy life.
Mm-hmm. I think in general grounding is important. I have recently been thinking myself about this topic, that I live a lot in head. I mean, live meaning even this interview, it's happening, we could metaphorically say, in head.
Yeah.
We are not physically doing something.
Yeah.
And therefore I need, and the people who are mostly in this intellectual work really need something physical. And I've been doing physical sports, but somehow I feel this is not that, meaning this needs to be something that, I don't know, even taking and chopping wood or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
but that something physical that you do with material, something, yes.
Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, for dentists, for majority of my colleagues, it's also a problem, because they, well, after they graduate, of course, they like keep learning and evolving as dentists, but majority of times they're just spending and doing like something physical.
Yeah.
So this cognitive part, what I noticed, it's gradually shrinking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So what I try to do in my life is just to keep these two areas, this physical and cognitive, like very well, like expanding and growing. Yeah.
And what made you decide to go into entrepreneurship?
Well, entrepreneurship, I also was thinking how I get there, but also I need to look at roots maybe in my like teenage, like late teenage years, when I was some 17, 18. I already was in university. I think it was first year of university, so I was around 18, 19 years old. And I had a girlfriend at this time who was helping in coffee breaks in one educational center, which was main topic, it was sales. Yeah, so the guy was teaching sales, a kind of sales guru. I don't remember already his name, it was many years ago. And a couple of times I came to see my girlfriend there, and I heard what they talking. I really liked it, and I saw that they're all smart people with ties and really something to listen. And I keep going to this kind of lectures and sitting at the back room, listening what they're saying. So that's how I learned how sales are important. And from this point in time, I started learning a lot, like reading, learning, and trying to figure out. There was no YouTube or something at those times, and internet also was very low, so it was mostly like PDF scanned books, so which I was reading, and also buying a lot of books. I like to read, and I keep reading.
What type of books did you read?
Well, it was mostly on sales and how to do business and how to establish business. So Dale Carnegie for sure was one of them, and a few others. I don't remember names now, but most of them at the beginning it was based on sales and what is sales and how it evolved, because it was my first point of contact with entrepreneurship. Yeah.
So this way somehow this idea started to grow in you, right?
I start to read a bit about this, yeah. And well, I keep studying dentistry at those time, but then I remember in one of the books or in one of these lectures, I heard that in order to succeed in business, you need to go in direct sales. So what I did when I was like already in my, I think, third or fourth university year, I went to work in a dental distribution company and was basically doing direct sales too, but it was a little bit easier for me because I was approaching this graduation and would be a future dentist. So it was quite easy for me to establish contacts with other dentists. It wasn't. Oh, I had this my small thing with what to go to the dentist. So I figured out that I need to go with something. I was picking up some crisps or some chocolates and going and saying, "Oh, I'm your future colleague, and I'm looking where to practice maybe later and maybe to work later. But also I'm working in a company which sells dental materials. So that's bit by bit. I kind of get to know nearly all dentists in Riga, well, majority of them.
Was this sales talk easy for you? Like
it was extremely difficult, yeah. So it's another story. So I, by nature, was very shy as a kid. So this third step, to make this third step, was extremely difficult for me. So I was sweating, blushing, and all these kind of things when I needed to talk to new people and to or do publicly later on to make speeches. So it was extremely difficult for me, but I knew that I need to overcome this fear of failure.
Why did you know it? From where?
From perhaps these books on
from
sales,
the books, yeah? Okay.
And from the books and from these courses, because these courses which I mentioned, which I was listening from the back of the room, they were mostly built around how to make sales, how to persuade people, how to open up, and how to talk nicely and smoothly. Yeah.
But what was pulling you? You were doing this in order to accomplish what?
Well, I kind of had a feeling that I need. This is the way how to become successful.
Okay.
Because if I just drill teeth, I had this feeling that I might be good in drilling, but it's not enough. Well, I somehow knew it from the very beginning that I need to also evolve as a entrepreneur. Yeah.
And so what helped you to overcome this introversion and shyness?
Well, of course, it helps the industry because I was from future dentist, so I persuaded myself that for me it's a little bit easy to talk to them than to other sales guys in the room. And next step, I would just wrote myself a small pitch on this, and I was just calling. And when I needed to make some cold calls, which was extremely difficult for me, I remember those times that I needed to sit 1 hour just kind of procrastinating in front of the phone, open computer, phone, and Sergej, you just need to pick up this bloody phone and you need to make a call. And this was extremely difficult, yeah. But of course the environment, because we were in a big room and there were other sales guys, so you kind of feel awkward if you're the only one who's staring at the phone and not talking to anyone. And so I introduced this idea of going to dentist with chocolates and introducing myself. So it's helped a lot too. But it was first overcoming this fear. I can't say that I was very successful in sales. There certainly were other guys who were much better than me, but at least it was first step in establishing to degrading this social anxiety thing. I still kept this thing for even later in life, but it was first step to overcome it. Yeah, and it also helped me a lot with with patience later on, how to speak. That I need to see what people what is emotion, so I need to mimic the pose, the gesture. So all these small things from the sales process that I learned exactly there when I was around 18, 19, and I think it was a great foundation for me as an entrepreneur and as a dentist as well.
So if I summarize what you said, then what helped you overcome is that you had a dream that was pulling you towards this is a step of becoming entrepreneur. But then second was that you had environment which was also pushing you a bit.
Yeah, I put myself into this environment because my parents, they didn't support the idea. They were saying, oh, you're a dentist, in 2-3 years you will be a dentist. You go to practice as a assistant to the dentist, which I also did. So I was sitting on 2 chairs. Yes, part of this time.
What I wanted to highlight is that what is important here, that you didn't want to become the best salesperson, because that would maybe
No.
have demotivated you, because you saw you were not the best, but you knew that this is just a step in order to accomplish something else.
Yeah, to like to get these communication skills, because
Yeah.
I knew I was shy. I was really couldn't talk to strangers or anything, and this was important thing for me to go through, to put myself into this hell of these emotions, overcoming this fear, which I did. Well, I didn't become a great salesperson, but I certainly overcome this fear to some extent at this.
It was like free university in entrepreneurship for you.
Yeah, and I was
Doing
paid
business.
for this as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is also quite quite good thing. Yeah.
Okay. Then, if we fast forward some years, you later started your clinic and then another one. Can you tell a bit what was the journey there, and was it easy road or any hardships on the way?
Yeah, so for me it was kind of logical step, because it was when I opened my first practice. I opened it in Sergejs and I worked there for like a couple of years. But for me it was a natural step, because I could easily get all materials at purchasing price, like at very huge discount, because it was the time when I was working also as a salesperson. So I could establish my first practice for quite cheap. Yeah. Um, and yes, and this guy who I knew in Sergejs, yeah, I also knew him through my network, which I established during my last years of university, being a salesperson. So it helped me a lot. And why I choose Sergejs, because I knew that at those time it was a like area where there was nearly no dentists, so very small number of dentists, and I knew there is a huge demand. So if I just go there, I don't need any advertising or anything. I just go, start, and I would have a like full list of patients, which I had.
So basically, you started with the so-called low-hanging fruit, and it sounds worked out nice.
It's actually, fortunately, unfortunately, it was like my strategy in life. I was just, I all the time dreamed big, but I was going the way which was the easiest path at the certain point.
For the next step.
For the next step.
Except the sales learning.
Yes, but this I knew I have to do it, otherwise I will not have any success. Yeah.
Okay. So Sergejs, but then London, I assume it's full of dentists. Why London? How did it happen?
No, between Sergejs and London there was Riga as well.
Okay.
So in Sergejs I was until this crisis.
Which one? Which one made it?
2007, 2008,
Yeah.
and it was a drop, in purchasing power, obviously, and people in Sergejs just disappeared. Not completely, but it was certainly a decline. And at those time, I also decided that, well, Sergejs is great, but I was born in Riga. I want to, I'm a downtown guy, yeah. So I don't want to stay in Sergejs all the time. I want to move to Riga back. And but I didn't want to work for others, because while I was working in Sergejs, I still was working in Riga in another practice. But it was like for 1 or 2 days, and I didn't like to work for somebody else, because I didn't like when somebody is telling me what to do. And so I decided I need to open I cannot develop myself the way I want. I cannot do procedures what I want and the way I want and the way I feel is right for people and for high quality. So I all the time needed to think what the boss telling me. So I decided that I need my own practice. So I applied to this European fund and I get a grant. I think it was 60 or 70,000 lats. It was 2008. So I went also from this kind of mentoring. There was a
grant
from Altum.
So it was like a grant or a loan?
Yeah, it was like 10k. It was a grant, and 60 or 70k. It was a loan on kind of good conditions.
I just want to pause here a bit and highlight what you just said. As you are telling, seems you think that this is normal for everyone. I know it is not. First, that when you are in a place where you don't like something, basically there are three positions that a person can take. One is remain passive, like what you gonna do. Second is take the negative active, meaning complain, go like, oh, why is it all so bad, blah blah. And third, do something about it. Doing something about it you can do either in the place, you can go and confront
Well, that's what I
those.
started with. When
Okay.
I saw
All
that
right.
there is no result, I just...
And the second is you go on and do something else on your own. Meaning this what sounds like just I just did it, for many people it's not what they do. So it's just to highlight it. This is one. And second, you just went and got a grant. Again, like if someone hasn't been dealing with these things, it's like, oh, like some Mission Impossible.
I haven't been dealing before, I guess.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that this characteristic that you have of just getting stuff done, like, okay, I will do this and then I will do that. This is, of course, there are many people who have it, but there's like way more people for whom this is a skill that they need to learn. Just wanted to highlight this before we proceed.
Well, perhaps, yeah. But I remember this time. It was like quite stressful. Well, I was earning something, of course, as a dentist, but it certainly wouldn't be enough to like, or I would need to save for like tens of years to open my practice. So this grant and this loan obviously helped me a lot. But I also needed to work to get it, because you needed to go through some certain procedure. You needed to go through some training, and you need to create a business plan,
Of course,
present
like
it to the bank. Yeah.
nothing happens for nothing. You still need to do stuff. But this, how you are telling your story, shows that you have this entrepreneurial mindset. It's coming from somewhere. And if we look at the very simple, basic level, then what is entrepreneurial mindset? It is that something is not working, I will take my hands in my hands and go and fix this thing and do something about it. Where is it coming from for you? Is it like from your parents, or did you see, like, because usually there's something has put it in such mindset.
Well, my father was like a small entrepreneur. Well, he was selling ice cream. Like
Okay, so you had the role model
but it was
example
like
also.
he was not like entrepreneur in my understanding. Now it was like more like self-employed person who had one truck, and then he had two trucks, but it's a maximum what he had, and he had a small wholesale of ice cream for the small shops, which. Like 20 years and 30 years ago was around Riga. Now it's mostly Maxima and Rini, but in the late 90s it was a lot of small shops. So he was like providing them frozen food, ice cream and some frozen food. So it was like a small entrepreneur, yeah. So perhaps that, well, and I also have example of my uncle who had his vet practice. So
But I think these are, it's like looks small, but these are important pieces. It actually doesn't matter if this role model was in the family, or was it somewhere, even reading a book about someone in childhood. I remember when I was a kid, I was told the stories about my grandmother's father, who in the first Latvia time was a small entrepreneur. He ran a shop in the countryside.
yeah.
And this also somehow was like instilling in me this like a star that there's possible entrepreneurship even for such type as we who live in the countryside and far from the capital.
Yeah, so perhaps this story, of course, worked. But I remember myself when, like, like before 10 years old, I was dreaming of being a factory director.
Okay.
Our kids were dreaming of becoming policemen, about like doctors and so on. I was dreaming to become that I have a factory. Well, whatever factory it is,
Yeah.
and I am a director. Well, at those time I didn't know that some such thing as entrepreneurship exists.
So it's still leading
it was,
position.
yeah, so yeah, perhaps this kind of, but I couldn't track these roots further back in time. So I just remember this insight in my childhood that I wanted to be like kind of a leader. But at the same time, I had like a lot of drawbacks with my shyness and the social anxiety and these kind of things, which was extremely difficult to overcome.
Just to highlight what I conclude, that if there are hardships in life which are hard to solve, then the solution is to do something about it. But to connect with this inner entrepreneur archetype, either to look for these hero stories in the family or even at least through books, but such that you can relate to. Because I think if you read a book about Elon Musk, like, okay, Elon Musk, it's a completely different something.
Yeah, because you need to have this kind of
Link of possibility.
Link of possibility, or just to read a book about smaller entrepreneur somewhere between Elon Musk and yourself. Yeah, but obviously when you look, well, I remember myself reading about Bill Gates and all these tycoons which were in my childhood. And while I was looking, well, how you do get there, how you achieve it. I knew that I wanna be there, but I have no idea how it works. Yeah.
Okay, let's come back to your London story. So how did it happen? And I'm also curious to hear, was there any hardships on your way of building it, running it?
Well, with London, I don't know. Now it looks that it was easy. Obviously, I had hardships when I was doing this, and one of the.
But how did you start? You just I will start a business in London, and.
No, it was like a matter of kind of on one hand coincidence, on the other hand it was just natural way of thinking and evolving. So it was like I was already for a couple of years running my practice in Riga, so it was 2011, I think. Yeah, 2012.
But your practice, were you alone in it, or you had?
Yeah, at the beginning
dentists?
it was just one surgery. Then it was 2008. Then when my first kid born, I remember I was moving to another place where was two surgeries. So it was 2012, beginning of 2012.
Two surgeries, you mean like two setups and two people working there? Yeah?
Two rooms, yeah. With the idea that, well, I already had one lady dentist working for me when I had just one room, one surgery.
Okay.
And I wanted to expand because I understood that I don't want only to see patients. I also want to expand. Yeah, I want to have other people working for me and like doing like promoting my ideas of how the dentistry should be done and like providing my service on kind of a scalable basis. So I moved to another place with two rooms. It was in Skolas Iela, and at this time I was exploring opportunities, how to get patient into my practice. And one of the opportunities arose. I don't know how I get this, but it was like a trade mission. I think it was published again on Altum or something, that there was like trade mission to England from medical cluster. So all the doctors, like surgeons, like cosmetic surgeons and other dentists were going to London, to Latvian embassy, to meet some local entrepreneurs who would help them to like establish medical tourism to Latvia.
What was that I should go?
I need to get patients to my practice.
From the UK.
From the UK, it looked like
into Latvia.
Into Latvia. That was at those time. It was like 2012. It was when the purchasing power in Latvia was still dramatically lower than in UK, like 3, maybe 4 times difference between our local prices and there. So it seemed like a good opportunity. And I also saw some of the patients coming to me even without any like major promotions. They were finding me somehow, and so I knew that such opportunity exists.
Okay.
And yes, I went in the end of 2012. I think it was it was end of 2012 when I moved. No, sorry, it was 2011. End of 2011, I went with this trade mission to London, meet few guys who like was doing medical tourism to Hungary, and they wanted also to start practices in London themselves. And so they offered me kind of a job. Yeah. So you come, you do your job, like you come on a weekly, fortnightly basis, like, But we also were discussing, so I start like as employed dentist, but we next clinic I will have a part in it. Yeah, and so I was working with them about a year till 2012, and then when they opened the second practice and didn't invite me to be a shareholder of it, yes, I said sorry guys, I'm leaving. Well, I didn't say them directly, but I understood that with these guys I cannot build up.
Trust was broken, yeah.
Yeah, trust was broken, and I understood that I can rely only on myself, and I already understood. But for this 1 year working for them, I understood what is kind of the market, what is the profile of patients, how to advertise. So I learned quite a lot.
Okay,
From
again, let's pause a bit. I just again want to highlight two things what I see here. One is this universal principle that you got to show up, meaning you showed up in this trip to UK,
Yeah.
so you have to show up
You need
in
to use
order
these opportunities.
for something to happen, because if you sit at home on your couch, then nothing happens. So this is one. And second is that even if this is not yet the perfect what you want, still to take the opportunity, yes, because you learned a lot from it. So okay, let's continue the journey. So you have now learned the market, and then what?
So I understand that it's kind of what these guys are doing it quite easy. You just basically need to Google advertise and do simple website. At least this 10 years ago it was like this. Now it's the game became a little bit more sophisticated. But anyway, this 2012, I still working with these guys, but I already looking for a place. I hired an assistant here in Latvia.
But till then you were alone all the time?
Yeah, I was alone, but I also was discussing with my friend these business opportunities in London. My friend, he's like very good in marketing, so we were thinking that let's maybe think of doing this venture together.
This is one more thing which is super important for startups, and not all follow this principle, is that to start very simple and scrappy.
Yeah.
So not to rent like huge offices and tons of people and whatnot, but whole your journey is like doing things very naturally, but starting small, taking opportunities.
Yeah, well, I had kind of bad guesses on the way. Like for example, when I was in Sergejs, I decided that I want to have a big practice in Sergejs at those time, and I purchased a huge real estate there.
Okay, so you had also mistakes and
yeah, I
learned from
obviously made a mistake with this Sergejs, which sucked a lot of money from me. So I bought this huge apartment in old town of Sergejs with the idea to build a big practice. Yeah, you were talking about mistakes. This certainly was one of the mistakes. And this in 2007 happened with this crisis, and I moved from Sergejs. So I kept having this flat for I think next 10 years or something before I sold it. But at those time, like paying like more than 1,000 lots per month was quite big money for me. So
it would be almost like 2,500 euros in our today's money amount.
Maybe even more, yeah.
Maybe even 3k,
I think it's
3k a month.
yeah, so 1,000. No, it was more than 1,000 lots. It would be like 1,500 euros and multiplied by 3 perhaps in today's money.
So okay, then it means you didn't start scrappy. You learned to become this.
Yeah, but after making this big mistake, I of course was very, very cautious. Yeah, very careful.
Maybe for a while in the opposite corner, but this gives them this understanding of the middle way. But then, okay, let's come back to UK. You started your own clinic there, basically, yeah?
Well, so while I was working this 2012 with these guys, I discussed this opportunity with my friend who is good in marketing. I also hired an assistant here whose task was to start preparing all documentation and to look for premises in the UK. So I think it was end of 2012. And so she was looking browsing classify its ads on property to find a suitable property. Obviously, to rent a property also kind of a big issue, especially in England. First of all, you need to find it. First of all, it doesn't cost cheap, yeah. And the third thing, you need to put a deposit, and it's altogether comes to quite a big money, at least, especially.
Did you have it?
No, I will tell you how we decided. So we decided not to go that way. We decided to go even easier way. We decided to find existing practice and just rent a surgery there, which would give us, like, it was a kind of higher ticket, which we just need to pay per day for this practice, but it didn't require nearly any investment. Oh, of course, for materials, but it was kind of okay, something what I could manage with my own funds. And so that's how we started in like it was area of Battersea. We found one low performing clinic who had a couple of spare surgeries, and we started renting them. And that's gradually I started growing like my patients base. Then I found another place in a more central area in Swiss Cottage of London, and it was much nicer clinic, and it was completely empty because the owner didn't know how to run it or something. Because
so basically sales were not working, yeah?
Yeah, well, he didn't had any sales, and there was nothing. But it's amazing clinic. It was made well. He invested so much money in it. It was such a pity, but it was empty. So I just took one surgery, one room renting. But very quickly we start renting the whole practice, like all four surgeries from him.
Yeah.
And this was, which was, well, the rent was quite expensive, but of course the benefit of it is that we didn't need to make any investment. So the next logical step would be to acquire your own property. Well, I didn't buy it, but there was like a kind of a lease. When you get empty premises, you refurbish it and you just pay kind of smaller rent for like indefinite. So it was my next step there is such area East Finchley, kind of nice area with next to Bishop's Avenue, where is this huge houses and the villas are.
Okay. But Sergej, I want to jump ahead a bit. So the way how you share your journey, it looks like the way is going up all the time. Was it always like this, or was there also some hardship happening on your way?
Well, hardship actually happened like much later, like basically a few years ago. Yeah, we had the first hardship in London. Yeah.
Can you tell about it?
Yeah, there is not secret, of course. So it's already, we had like two practices.
There, yeah?
Yes, in London, one and it's still there, like one in Balham, it's south of London, and East Finchley. So the idea to cover, and that was about the time when I was also thinking that I don't really want to live in London, and this understanding came to me.
So you lived there?
I was living like half of the time there, half of the time there, but this time I already had two kids, and a second kid I had from my current wife, who I met in London. So we were like, the family was there, but I still needed to come to Latvia to maintain Latvian clinic. So I was like literally living these 10 years between two countries, like 1 week spending there, 1 week spending here, which wasn't, well, it was fun at the beginning, but then it was, now when I'm sitting mostly in one place, it feels that it was a huge mistake to have such a disrupting lifestyle. Yeah, because you don't sleep, you go to this airport at 5 a.m. then you go at 9, you have whatever patients or some meetings on how to, I don't know, expand your business and so on. So it was a little bit too much perhaps, and absence of sleep wasn't also very nice. So I decided around COVID time, around 2020, that we will move to Latvia. And it's also coincided with the Brexit, and it's also coincided, well, because of the Brexit, some dentists who I could easily hire before Brexit started to go back to the native countries, like similar as perhaps I did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was much more difficult to get more dentists, and gradually also after Brexit, the London economics kind of went down. So it was a little bit like a couple of years ago we have this downside of, well, perhaps first downside in my whole story. And yes, it was.
And what happened for you, for your business and for you?
No. Well, keep pushing. Yeah. So it was like first maybe one loss year when we had like losses, because beforehand it was all the time profitable.
Yeah.
And well, but now we already recovered. Like we finally hired dentists to fill the space, and obviously now it's much harder to get patients. But we also learned the way how to do it. Yeah, so it's not only Google Ads, but also expanding into social media and doing a lot of other things. Yeah, so basically it's evolving. So at one point we reach kind of a plateau and even a decline, but then we basically in the last 2 years we learned how to overcome it. So so by the end of last year we already put ourselves on the growth track.
And what changed for you that you managed? Meaning there was a problem, and how did you adapt? What was your
Well, we
way
were
of
constantly looking for what we can improve. For example, there was a problem. One of the problems was that dentistry in London, especially the kind of services we are providing, which is prosthetics and implants, not most of the people, perhaps 1/3 or quarter of all patients take loans for them. And exactly 3 years ago, banks stopped giving these finances for these consumer goods, and which TIFA are also part of it. So this decline in financing obviously declined our turnover literally by 1/3. Yeah. And one of the way we started providing different services. So before we were like only these exclusive implant services, but now we start offering also a smaller services just to fill the available capacity. And another thing, we start thinking, so maybe to some of the patients, with carefully investigating each of them, we can kind of make this pay as you go, not pay as you go, but split the payment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously taking this risk of default for ourselves. So far it worked. Well, of course we can't give so much money as we could have given through this financing company, but yes, it was one of the solutions how to kind of recover part of the turnover. But of course it comes with some risks. Yeah, that if patient does disappear and will not come. Well, in Latvia it wouldn't be a problem, I would say, but in England it's kind of, yeah.
But I'm curious about two things. Let's start with the first one. You mentioned that there was an empty clinic, very nice, beautiful, and then you started renting it, and it filled. You filled it. What's your secret? Let's hope that your competitors aren't listening this.
Well, it's already been 10 years ago, so it's not a secret. So 10 years ago, none of the dental clinic in England used Google AdWords.
So simple.
So simple as this. So you just put this Google AdWords. You do. Well, most of the clinics didn't have a website.
Okay.
So it wasn't that. And in Latvia, we already had website. We already had these AdWords up and running.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like so there was quite a market where it was kind of very high prices, and there was competition was very low. So there were competitors, but they were kind of not doing. Yeah, perhaps we can call it that the demand was much higher than actual supply at those times.
Okay, but what's your secret today?
Just hard work and to learn these small things around. So obviously now just putting AdWords on the keyword dental implant, it will not bring you much. Yeah, you need to establish like, for example, online booking system like we are doing now, and we obviously need to have a treatment coordinator, which most of the, it's actually another secret to well, we call it on a business language, is kind of sales team basically, because we have this call center who is calling patients after they had the first consultation. At least in England, in Latvia, it doesn't work that way at all. In Latvia, we have this conventional medicine, yeah, whereas.
Okay. And and this is connected with the second question, because these things you are telling, they sound logical when you look in retrospect, like makes sense to do this, but somehow you need to come up with these ideas to do it. And then you also mention several times we. Instead of saying me, you say we.
Well,
Who do you mean is we?
well, obviously for London's business, it's my business partner and my friend, and I also mean my wife who is supporting me. But basically, when I say we, I mean the whole team.
Okay.
Because on my own, I certainly wouldn't be possible to do this. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the business partner? Who, how, why? What's the role of the business partner in such type of business? Is he another dentist? Or?
No, he's just a marketing guru. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Who helped a lot at the beginning of the business. Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Okay.
So he was the one who established this. Well, at this time it wasn't difficult to establish this Google account, to set up a website,
Yeah.
and establish this sales funnel. Yeah.
But I'm curious. So you are a dentist, and you are the entrepreneur who comes with this initiative to start the clinics, and then you attract a business partner who will take care of basically filling them in with audience, right?
Oh, partially, yes, yes.
How did you distribute the gains?
Yeah, we have this split partnership, so I'm having 70% and he having 30.
So it would be like from a different world. It would be if you are the music band, then you have the promoter, then the band has 70% of the profit and the promoter 30% of the profit.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. Well, it wasn't like full-time promotion, of course, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, but we had these regular meetings, and so my partner certainly helped a lot with setting up the business.
And you mentioned wife. What's the role of your wife in your story? I mean, in your professional story.
Yeah, well, my wife is also a dentist, and so from the very beginning, she also was next to me, helping a lot. And even now, she's the one who's going to London every month.
So you traded places now. She has to travel.
No, it's still not as much traveling as it used to be. Yeah, but she goes because she's very good in establishing contacts with people. And it's very helpful, yeah, too.
Listen, I know the people who have challenges with properly including their spouses in their journey, in their professional journey. It's like you come at home, then how are the kids, how was the day, and the conversation is over. So they're not bringing in any work topics, whatnot. What are your takeaways on this, and how do you do it? Because what I just wanted to add that I'm also I want to open this message for everyone that it is very beneficial to bring these topics at home, to discuss it with the spouse, include her in these topics, not expecting that she will be your business advisor, but still.
Yeah, well, of course, when you work with your spouse or friends, it's like a huge temptation to like mix friendship and the relationship and business all together. But what we figured out with my friend, who is also a business partner, and with my wife, is that there is only certain time when we talk about work. When we, with my friend and with our friends, we're going like to have a glass of beer. Well, I'm not drinking anymore, but anyway, when you used to go to the pub, we're not talking work. We're talking anything, but if somebody of course it's wants to ask something, oh, what you did there with this partner or with that, and the other stops. So we never talk business when we going for entertainment or something like this. And with my wife, it's also similar. We established a rule: after 6 p.m. no work. We don't talk work, even if there is something important.
Because you have enough to talk about work during the day, as you are basically colleagues, as I understand.
What we basically do only, not even during the day, we just establish slots of time when we talk work.
So
And the rest
meeting with the...
Yeah, well, we kind of establish these business meetings. Otherwise, it's becoming... well, at the beginning, it was a little bit of this mixture, but that's how we moved to this smoother life. Yeah, so work is work, like life is life, family is family, kids are kids. Yeah, so we have just slots of time when we discuss work, which is not even every day actually.
And this fact that your wife is at the same time your colleague, basically partner at work also, what do you see has its pros and cons in such a model for you?
Well, I think it's mostly pros, because I have a person who can I rely on, and who I know whatever it takes, she's on my side. As I say, with my business partner, yeah, who is also my friend.
Okay.
So this, but potential. Well, I never had this experience, but theoretically, it could be that this business work can ruin friendship and relationship, but it wasn't my case actually.
Mm-hmm. I see it so that even if the spouse is not a colleague or partner in the business, then, and here I will talk from man's perspective as a man, then she is like this sun and water which is being given to your plant that you are growing, meaning the business, the plant, you are actively doing something, bringing earth and plants and whatnot, but she through you can give this necessary other ingredients. And this brings me to the perhaps almost the last topic I want to cover here. In your journey, what have you concluded? What are some either invisible or transcendent rules that are at play that you have understood and you are playing according to them?
Yeah, well, one of the rules I established for myself, and I also learned it in many books, is ultimate honesty. Yeah, so just say everything what you on your mind, and like live the life. And as this I also heard a couple of days ago, watching YouTube with Warren Buffett. He was suggesting the things. So you live your life that if tomorrow anything, any part of your life in the front of a magazine, and some how he said it's like critically thinking but honest journalist is like exploring your life, investigating your life, you have nothing to like be guilty, if you feel guilty for that you did something wrong. So this maximum transparency, of course there are some things which you can't share with people, but 90% basically you can. So that's how I, and to be honest with employees, it's perhaps number one, because I heard many stories of the people who came to work for me that some in other places they just don't pay right, or just say at the beginning that they will pay you this amount and then don't pay this amount, and try to figure out how to decrease this pay or just to do something similar. So for me it's what has to do, if I promise something, then it's like it's a must to do, and just treat everybody with dignity and honesty and being as open as possible. I think this is a major rule for me, and it's also this route actually also roots into also these guidelines for dentists basically in the UK. So you need to be as open and transparent and willing to help your patients. So this part of this my professional side actually transferred also to business, because it's, you can imagine it's a little bit difficult to maybe balance between these two roles, because one kind of entrepreneurship, you need to build work for yourself or something like this, and in medicine you need to, like, the only goal to make the other person, your patient, to be happy and to do like at the highest standard. So this really, when I figured this balance, it really helped me a lot.
So it's authenticity, just to be authentic, that you are as you are and you are not hiding something from someone about who you are, what you think, what is the truth for you. So one is authenticity. Second, what you mentioned is super important, meaning to keep the promises. I just want to add that to be realistic, things can change. Yes, but then to renegotiate instead of just like, okay, yes, I told you, but no.
Yeah, of course, when you need to keep promises within certain environment. If the environment changes, then of course everything should be negotiated, or renegotiated. Of course, this is.
And the third thing that you said is, as a dentist, you are contributing to the patients. And as a business for yourself, I see it a bit differently. Business also is contributing. It's like a vehicle for contributing at scale. Because if you are doing it alone, then maybe no business necessary. Then you create an organization that still contributes, but the result of the contribution is that the remuneration flows back for the value that you contribute to others.
Yeah, well, what I tried to, maybe it wasn't explicit enough, what I meant, so in business is one of the main ideas is profit, or like future profit or growth. But in medicine, the main idea is that this patient, he receives the treatment he deserved, no matter of your cost. So if you promise somebody to make a denture for a certain amount, and then you see that you need to do extra work, which you haven't agreed with the patient, you still do it even at loss. And that's part of my profession I kind of meant when I was discussing.
So these two hats of dentist and entrepreneur then give you this balance of contribution, not counting every penny, and then entrepreneurship with the profit focus also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good conclusion, that to maintain this balance. Thank you for the discussion. It was very interesting, and I hope also to meet you after a few years again for an interview to see how your path have progressed then.
Okay. Thank you, Farhad.
Okay, thanks.